The maid's hasty retraction has raised many eyebrows. It raises several questions. First and foremost, why did the maid backtrack from the rape accusation a year after the case was first reported? Secondly, if we believe her latest statement, what was the motive behind the false allegation she made last year? Thirdly, the maid's U-turn contradicts forensic evidence that confirmed rape. And that raises the question, did the victim retract her initial statement under duress, or was she offered money? Finally, will the maid now be tried for perjury for retracting from her earlier statement? What made Shiney Ahuja's maid suddenly and in this dramatic fashion retract all charges? That's the big center stage face-off question for tonight. Mukesh Bhatt is the film producer, senior vice president of the Bollywood Producers Association, joining us from Mumbai tonight. YP Singh is a former IPS officer, deeply aggrieved by this sudden U-turn and what this means for the cops who've been investigating. Purnima Advani is the former chairperson of the National Commission for Women, and Tavleen Singh is one of India's leading columnists. I want to start with you, Mr. YP Singh. As a former police officer, as someone who's seen investigations at very close quarters, what according to you seems to have happened? What explains this sudden retraction? Here's a woman who's been fighting a long case for the last 1 year. She's been insisting that she was raped. She's made a big deal about it. Now she wants us to believe that she was trying from the first moment to frame Shiney Ahuja. Do you believe this maid now?
I think what she's saying now is not true. It's a falsity, and it is more than apparent from not only just the present circumstances, but what has been happening in several other cases before is that the victim often goes in for a compromise with the perpetrator, and there is some sort of an arrangement done between the two, some extraneous consideration. Primarily, it is money, and I think it is money which is speaking and not the truth.
You're saying it is money that is speaking and not the truth. Does this, Ms. Tavleen Singh, bring us back to that oft-held notion that the rich and the powerful can get away? They have money, they have backing, they have pressure tactics that can be applied. Could the same have happened in this case, madam?
No, I don't think so, Rahul. I think that's rubbish. The rich and the powerful have a much bigger lens on them. In Bombay, there is little girls being raped every day in the brothels with the complicity of the police. Nobody catches them. Shiney Ahuja was caught because he was a celebrity. Had it been some odd bod in the street, nobody would have bothered. Secondly, if, as Mr. YK Singh suggests, that he's bought the maid off, why didn't he do it earlier? You know, he could have done it immediately. I think, from what I've read of the story, that it was a trial by the media in total complicity with the police, and it's a very, very worrying thing. Because you know that the fundamental rule of journalism is that you say alleged rape. If you look at the tapes of the time when Shiney was caught, there is no alleged rape. They're talking about, on all of you channels, you know, I'm a journalist myself, and it's very frightening. Because we just assumed that he was guilty and that the maid was innocent. How do we know it's true?
Ms. Purnima Advani, do you agree with Tavleen Singh when she says because they have a lens on them, celebrities are always under the scanner, and this really is a case of everybody believing just because he's big and powerful, he's probably guilty, and now questions are being raised about whether it was the maid who was lying from the first moment?
Look, Rahul, there's the second side to this coin. That those who are rich and powerful, they may commit rapes or do whatever they want, but they can easily ensure that their power will save them or the money will save them. And ours is a poverty-ridden country. To purchase the maids later on is not very difficult. What happens, therefore, we give a lot of importance to first information reports. And here in the first information, the maid had clearly said that she was raped. She had also described that when she was alone in the house, what happened, and he had called her to the room for a glass of water and so on. So I think there's some importance to the first information. Therefore, I strongly believe that the trial court must perform its duty to ascertain the truth. But if a woman says something which is false, then she should not be left free just because she's a woman. It is important that every woman should know also that she has to speak the truth, and there is the rule of law.